I'm making paccheri ai quattro formaggi, my twist on macaroni cheese.
But technically, macaroni cheese is more of an American thing, okay? I'm going to show you the traditional way to do it with 4 of the best Italian cheeses.
Remove any rind and roughly chop the cheeses. I'm using a soft taleggio,
If you can find taleggio, you could use stinking bishop.
a blue gorgonzola,
Look at that, this is going to give an amazing flavor.
and a smoked scamorza that will turn stringy once melted.
Big chunks, you don't have to cut it too small because everything is going to melt in the pan.
And put them in a cold pan.
And there is a reason why I use cold pan, because if the pan is hot, it's very difficult when you cook to control the heat. So start with cold and then end up with the heat underneath.
Pour over some full fat milk. Next, add 3/4 of a teaspoon of paprika and a dash of extra virgin olive oil to give it a little extra shine.
Now is the time to put the heat underneath, but make sure you put it very low. Allow the cheese to melt slowly, slowly. If you burn the cheese, you're gonna ruin this recipe. This is gonna be yummy, I can guarantee you that. As the cheeses are melting, let's cook the pasta. First of all, you need a large pot with loads of water. You need to allow the pasta to move into the water. Rule number 2, the water has to be boiling. Then the bubble will make sure that the pasta doesn't stick. Third and most important rule is salt. See, if you don't put salt, the pasta is gonna be absolutely tasteless. Okay, the other ingredients I'm going to add is fresh chive. And I like chive to go in a cheese sauce because it lifts up the dish with fresh flavor, which is very important.
Finally chop, put a bit in the sauce, the rest I'll sprinkle on at the end.
See, the cheese sauce is actually ready. I still like when pieces of cheeses are not completely melted because that gives texture. And the sauce has to be slightly runny because once we put then the pasta into the sauce, we're gonna allow the pasta in the sauce to coat it onto the heat so it doesn't get too dry. And that is the secret how to make the best pasta with cheese sauce. This is perfect, look at that.
Check your pasta is al dente.
Perfect.
Drain the pasta and put it straight into the cheese sauce. Keep stirring until the cheese goes stringy. Then add the final cheese, grated pecorino.
Now, do you remember before you may thought the sauce was a little bit runny? Look at now. It's thickening up because of the starch of the pasta. It's getting stringy. I can't wait to try this anymore.
Finish with chopped chives and a little more pecorino cheese.
That's it. That is the way it's done. Paccheri ai quattro formaggi.
Simple comfort food at its tastiest.
In Liguria, pesto is one of the most famous dressing of all. And I don't know if you realized, I used the word dressing and not a sauce, because a sauce is something that you would heat up in a pan and serve it hot with chicken, with pasta, whatever you want to use it. Dressing is something that you serve always at room temperature. And the pesto I'm going to prepare is a parsley pesto with garlic and capers. Yes, I know, in Liguria, the traditional pesto is made with basil, Parmesan cheese, pine nuts, but because I'm going to do a linguine with scallops, the parsley and capers pesto is going to really, really work and complement the flavor of the scallops. So, where do we start? Here, make sure that your pan is very, very hot. So I'm going to add a nice knob of butter, like that, straight in. And on top of the butter, I'm going to drizzle a little olive oil. And the reason why I'm doing that, so that the butter doesn't burn. Oh, yes, nice and sizzling. Scallops. I'm using Italian scallops, which they're usually smaller. They go straight into the hot pan. Now, scallops, guys, the secret is very simple. Don't overcook them. This little one will take probably 15 seconds on each side. If you got the big one, cook them for about 30 to 40 seconds on each side. Just going to add a little touch of salt and a little black pepper. That's it, these are ready. So get a plate and just put the scallop in a plate. And don't forget the butter and the oil. It's gonna have full of flavors there, yeah? So now what I'm gonna do, I'm going to rest the scallops, and meanwhile, I'm gonna start to boil the water for the pasta. And as the water is boiling, I'm gonna show you how to make the pesto. For my parsley pesto, I'm using a pesto in mortar.
For the pesto, take a large handful of flat-leaf parsley. Add 2 cloves of garlic, a tablespoonful of pine kernels, and a tablespoon of capers.
I'm using capers that they are in brine. You can find them in those little jars. If you want to use the one in salt, yes, you can just rinse them under cold water. Once you got that, we're gonna pour a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I'm going to start to add a little extra virgin olive oil. Like this. Now the only thing you got to do, bang, 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 mash everything together. This is exactly the way I want it to look, nice and coarse. And at this point, what I want you to do, get the scallops that you rested straight in. With all the butter, the oil. Remember, this is all flavors going in. Hold everything together. I'm just going to add a little more extra virgin olive oil just to loosen up the dressing. And then, to refresh it, lemon zest. Okay, one more mix. Fantastic. Now you can imagine the flavors here, right? You got the capers, the freshness of the lemon, the parsley, the scallops, the pine kernels. This is sexy. And if you make it a little bit more, you can leave it in the fridge up to 24 hours and then use it the day after. Okay, pesto ready. Let's cook the pasta. That's it, perfectly boiling water. The only thing to add now, a little bit of salt. And I'm using linguine. Yes, you can use spaghetti, but I think linguine with scallops and pesto looks really, really cool. In there straight away.
Cook the linguine for roughly 8 to 10 minutes.
Pasta should be nice and al dente. Perfect. Now, what I want you to do, you can drain it or you can use a pair of tongs like this and go straight into a large bowl. And don't worry if there is a little bit of water from the cooking pasta because that will help the dressing. That's done. Now, yeah, the parsley dressing straight into the pasta. Like that. Okay, at this point, the only thing you have to do is coat the pasta in the dressing.
Use your tongs to twist the linguine as you serve.
The last thing that I want you to do to this dish now is to put any kind of cheese grated on top. You will ruin the flavor of this pasta. Linguine with scallops and parsley pesto. What can I tell you? Minimum effort, maximum satisfaction. Right here, right now. I mean, look at the view behind me. You can't get any more Venice than this.
This region is the home of Prosecco, so I'll be using it along with the crab I bought at Rialto this morning to create a mouth-watering linguine dish.
You cannot come to Venice without opening a bottle of Prosecco. And this is a bottle from Terre di San Venanzio, and it's a Cartise Brut. A Brut is at the driest you can get as far as Prosecco is concerned. There you go. Let me taste. Beautiful. citrusy. This is gonna go really well with the sweetness of the crab and the lemon. Okay, now, for the sauce, garlic. I don't know if you can hear, I got gondolier in the back singing volare. Cantare, oh, 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 oh.
Pour the sliced garlic into a cold pan, add olive oil and finally chopped chili. Only then, pour on the heat.
As soon as you can see the garlic and the chili sizzling, time to put the rest of the ingredients. Now, the other ingredients I'm going to use, cherry tomato. I just cut them into quarters. And then I got pitted green olives.
Roughly chop the olives and a large bunch of flat leaf parsley.
Now, look at that. Garlic sizzling, the chili is sizzling.
Add the cherry tomatoes, olives and parsley to the pan.
And come on, look at the colors. Once you've done that, I'm gonna pour my crab meats. Just make sure you flake it on top, like this. Little touch of salt. No need for pepper because we got the chili already in there. Oh, come on, guys, look at that.
Grate in the zest of a lemon.
Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna switch off the heat because the last thing you want to do is to overcook the crab, overcook the tomatoes, overcook the olives. Keep it fresh. At this point is the time to cook pasta. And what I'm using is this linguine. That goes in there.
Use plenty of water when cooking pasta and at least a tablespoon of salt.
Obviously, for this recipe, if you don't want to use crab, you just want to keep it with olives, cherry tomato, garlic, is absolutely fine.
When the pasta is almost cooked, pour the crab sauce back onto the heat.
Now, the last thing you have to do to the sauce is to add a touch of Prosecco. Yes, you can use white wine. But what's the point of being in Venice and not using Prosecco? Come on. Check the pasta. Now, let me tell you a secret how to cook the perfect al dente pasta. Whatever it says timing on the packet of pasta, just take 1 minute away. And that's how you get the perfect al dente pasta. Now, to make sure that your pasta tastes always amazing, add the pasta into the sauce. Just pick it up and straight in the frying pan. You want to make sure that each strand of pasta is coated by the flavor of the sauce. Come on, look at that. Just plate it up. And make sure you get all the olives. Oh. Now, the last thing I would do just before you serve it is a little touch of lemon zest on top.
Because in Italy, we never use Parmesan cheese with seafood pasta.
And that's the way you make linguine with crab, green olives, cherry tomato, and Prosecco. I'm gonna show you how to make an extremely simple plate of pasta. It's fusilli with pancetta and mozzarella. Nice and easy, everything will be done within 20 minutes. So we're gonna start with the aubergine.
To make the sauce, I'm using even quantities of aubergine and courgettes, both diced into around 1 centimeter cubes.
Okay. Now, if you see the size of the aubergine and courgettes are exactly the same size, and that tells me that they're gonna cook at exactly the same time.
Heat some oil in a wok, and when it's hot, add the veg.
Very important at this stage to add a little bit of salt on top of the vegetable because the moisture is gonna come out and the vegetables are gonna be extra crispy.
Fry the veg for around 7 minutes, and then add in some diced pancetta.
If you can't find the pancetta, streaky bacon, finely sliced, absolutely fine.
Add sliced red onions and cook for another 8 to 10 minutes.
Now is the time to add tinned cherry tomatoes. You can find them anywhere and they are amazing.
I like whole cherry tomatoes because they add texture.
They're gonna be amazing for this sauce.
Finally, add in some green pesto and let the sauce simmer for 15 minutes.
that, I'm just gonna add black pepper. Now the secret is to let it rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. That time there, use it to cook the fusilli. Cook the pasta in a large pan of boiling salted water until it's al dente, so it still has a little bite. If you can't find long fusilli, spaghetti or bucatini is a good alternative. The sauce now is gonna completely stick to the fusilli, and when you taste it, it's gonna be yum yum. For a final flourish, tear in some buffalo mozzarella. I want to see strings of mozzarella as I'm mixing the pasta together. And that's exactly what I wanted. The oozing mozzarella with the long fusilli, the cherry tomato. Oh. This is perfect. There you go. And the perfect wine to go with this pasta is Fiano d'Avellino, which I chose because it's a local wine. It's come from the region of Campania. It's a little bit spicy, so it goes really, really well with the pancetta and the cherry tomato. Let's see. I'm happy with my pasta. Now let's see if my teacher, she's gonna be happy. So I'm going to show you how to prepare a wild boar ragù. First, start with some extra virgin olive oil in a hot, heavy based pan. Are you hearing that? The reason why you want to brown the meat, you want to make sure that it's all sealed outside, but all the juices stays inside for later. Look at that. If you can get wild boar, pork shoulder will work beautifully. Set the wild boar aside to rest. So, in the same pot, we are now going to cook the soffritto. Soffritto is made up of finely chopped onions, celery and carrots and forms the base of any Italian ragù. It's going to release the sweetness and the flavor to make your very plain tomato sauce into a fantastic tomato sauce. After a couple of minutes, add some pancetta and fry with the soffritto for 8 to 10 minutes. Time to introduce the wine. You put the wine in there, let the wine bubble away. As the wine is bubbling away, what's happening? The alcohol goes away, but the flavor of the wine stays in. And we want to reduce this one by half. While it's reducing, let's talk about the tomatoes. The tinned chopped tomatoes has got water in it, and it's gonna help the meat to tenderize. Tomato puree is gonna give a nice, sexy color to the sauce. And straight after, I got stock. I'm using beef stock just to give a little bit of character to the sauce. You can use chicken or vegetable, whatever you want. And then add the meat straight in. Now look at the shine on the sauce already. Cover slightly with the lid and simmer gently for 1 hour on a low heat. It looks like delicious. Okay, nice and thick, shiny. And then I'm gonna use my final ingredients, fennel seeds. That's gonna give some kind of aniseed flavor with the wild boar that it goes really, really well. Let me tell you something, when you make a ragù, the secret here is be patient. Don't rush it, let it bubble away slowly, slowly. Every 10 minutes, stir it, look at it, appreciate the color and the smell, and that's how you make a traditional Italian ragù. Cover and let it rest for 15 minutes, which gives you the time to cook the pasta. The water has to be bubbling like a jacuzzi bubbling. That's the way I want it. Then salt. And the pasta I'm going to use for my wild boar ragù is rigatoni. To make sure the rigatoni is al dente, cook it for 1 minute less than the instructions on the packet. Okay, pasta is drained. Now what you have to do, keep the heat underneath. The sauce and the pasta, they need to get together before you serve them to your guests. Finally, finish with some parmesan and serve. Ho ho. And there you have it, my rigatoni with wild boar ragù. One word, fantastico! The question that people always ask me is, Gino, what can I prepare something romantic? And the answer is right here. I'm going to show you how to prepare a spaghetti vongole with clams and mussels. We put everything on a big platter so you can play the Lady and the Tramp thing, you can feed each other. And where do we start? Is right here. Clams and mussels. Now, you need to make sure that you clean them when you get at home. And the way to do it is very simple. Clams, you just scrape them. The mussels, usually they got a little beard here. You just take it out. And to see if there is any sand in them, you're gonna have to pick them up. You can do it in your sink or you can do in a tray like this one and, let's see, bash them down. What's gonna happen if there is sand in the clams or the mussels, that we open straight away and the sand will come out. I often see people making the mistake to take the clams and the mussels and put them in tap water. That is wrong. Tap water is sweet. Mussels and clams are used to salty water and they will die straight away. So these are ready.
Next job is to prepare a simple sauce with just 3 ingredients.
And the trick is this. Cold pan, garlic and chili already in there, olive oil goes in. Now, only at this point, the heat comes on.
Once you start to see the garlic sizzle, add in your mussels and clams. Then just add salt, some roughly chopped flat leaf parsley, and mild white wine.
So put a splash in it.
Stir, bring to the boil, then cover with a lid and let the steam work its magic for 5 to 7 minutes. Next, I want my sweet yellow pomodorino tomatoes.
Now, these tomatoes here are going to give a nice flavor.
Italians have many different ways of making vongole. So if you can get yellow cherry tomatoes, don't worry. Red ones works just as well.
Stir all together, couple of minutes, and the sauce is done.
Simply add some spaghetti cooked al dente, and for my final tip, soak the pasta in the sauce for 1 minute before serving.
Beautiful. Now, the way to do this is to pour everything on a large plate. Remember, this is for 2 people. Now, we definitely have the tramp. I'm gonna have to find myself a lady. This dish requires 5 ingredients. Spaghetti, it requires a good extra virgin olive oil, garlic, then you want chili, and a little bit of parsley. Simple as that. And the first thing we're gonna have to do is parsley. Flat leaf parsley, quite a lot. Rule number 1, make sure that your saucepan at this stage is absolutely cold. Okay, happy with the parsley? So I got my garlic, 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. It has to be quite garlicky. So peel the garlic and start to roughly chop, and then we're gonna finally chop it. Now, put the parsley above the garlic and chop everything together. And whatever you do, there is no way that you're gonna blitz this one into an electric blitz, because it's just not gonna work, yeah? It's gonna get all dark and, you know, gooey, sticky together. You want to do this one by hand, just the way I'm doing it. Olive oil goes in a pan, like that. Then straight in goes the garlic and the parsley. And then you're just gonna put the chili. I'm using the chili flakes, so they're gonna go in. And just a fresh chili. I'm gonna use half of it. A medium hot red chili will definitely do the job. Chili goes in. And only now is when you're gonna switch on the heat under your frying pan. As soon as you see the garlic and the chili that it start to sizzle, switch off straight away. Your sauce is done. You know, you can make this one a little bit more sexy if you want. You can throw a few prawns in there, fresh cherry tomato, just cut them in half and throw them in.
if you learn the basic of spaghetti aioli and peperoncino, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Okay, so this is perfect. So now I'm gonna go for the pasta. When you cook pasta, make sure that the water is boiling. In there, I'm going to add a handful of salt. There is nothing worse when people cook pasta in water where there is no salt.
Spaghetti is traditional for this recipe, but linguine or tagliatelle also work well.
Nearly there. Now, this needs another 30 seconds, so this is the moment now to put a little bit more heat under the oil, the garlic, and the chili. Okay, this is ready, so the pasta straight into the sauce. And see this little bit of water that it comes from the pasta? That is gonna make the sauce even better. Straight in. Look how the garlic, the parsley, the chili beautifully coats each strand of the spaghetti. Oh, yes. I wouldn't add any salt because remember we salted the water when we cook the pasta. From here, straight into the serving dish. I mean, if I have to have my last plate of pasta ever, I can tell you right now, this is the one I would. Fantastico.
So, I'm gonna prepare a nice pasta with tomato sauce, speck, and Graziano's herb cheese. Now, the first thing I want to do, there is the rind of the speck that I want to get rid of it because it's quite tough. So, sharp knife, and make sure you take it out, just like that. Okay?
Speck is the local cured meat, but you can also use pancetta. You'll need about 80 grams of it, cut into small strips. Then put 4 tablespoons of olive oil into a hot pan, followed by the speck.
Now, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. Listen to the sizzle.
Then add 2 garlic cloves, roughly chopped. Add in 400 grams of chopped tomatoes.
This is starting to smell fantastic. Now, the last thing I'm gonna pour into my sauce, I got some local basil. I just went to foraging around here. Look what I found. Look at that. How sexy is this? You know, I'm gonna put a little bit of basil leaves, black pepper.
Now I'm going to share one of my family secrets.
Often you got leftover lasagna sheets, and what do? Very simple. You put them up like that, and I'm gonna show you a tip that my grandfather told me. Never to waste anything.
Slice the lasagna sheets into roughly centimeter wide strips.
You just made your own fresh tagliatelle.
Then throw straight into a pot of boiling water, adding a tablespoon of salt.
Fresh pasta usually takes about 5 to 6 minutes. Remember, like a true Italian, like a proper traditional preto pasta, you want it nice and al dente.
As a finishing touch, add some olive oil to the sauce to make it look and taste fantastico. Then, using a large hold grater, shred 300 grams of the caciotta al timo cheese. A good alternative to this is cheddar.
I can see Graziano is coming my way. Okay, I'm nearly there. So, half of the cheese goes straight into the sauce. Okay, pasta is ready. I'm just gonna pick it up straight into the sauce. That's the best way to do it. I'm gonna do a big portion because it's 2 men eating. Now the last thing that you have to do, remember, Graziano cheese is on top. Graziano, vedi? Che ne pensi? It looks like the mountain here when the snow goes on. Sembra la montagna quando la neve va sopra.
Con la neve in cima.
Con la neve in cima. I want him to be honest with me because this is, you know, we worked hard for this cheese, so I want to make sure that he's happy.
Tanti fanno le cose elaborate, le cose sofisticate.
He said, Gino, what you done? You used my ingredients in a very simple way, so you kind of show off what the mountain life and mountain ingredients are. Simple, tasty, I'm getting a bit emotional. Simple, tasty, and just amazing. So, grazie. Grazie.
Thank you.
Grazie. Color is amazing. This is absolutely beautiful.
Start by pouring extra virgin olive oil onto some basil leaves in a mortar and pestle.
I adore making pesto, especially with the basil pesto, because it tells me that the summer is here and I'm gonna have a beautiful, sunny and colorful plate of pasta.
Next, a pinch of sea salt and that classic pesto flavor, pine kernels.
Probably want to pour about 2 tablespoons of that. A clove of garlic, just make sure you peel it straight in. And then the action is quite easy.
I love to make my pesto the traditional way, but if you are tight for time, a quick blitz and a food processor will do the job.
Now, remember that pesto is not a sauce, it's a dressing, so always should be served at room temperature, because if you put it in a pan and you're gonna heat it up, you lose the freshness of the basil and the color green is gonna go quite dark and dull.
Next, get the pasta on the go.
I'm using linguine. Linguine in Italian means tiny, long tongues. That's what it means. And to cook pasta to perfection, you want the water to really go fast. Blah, 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 blah. That's what you want.
Always make sure you add salt to the water, otherwise the pasta will be tasteless.
No need to add any oil, because if you keep the water boiling, the pasta will never stick. Straight in.
Once the pasta is on, add more extra virgin olive oil to the pesto and some finely grated pecorino cheese.
You want a smooth texture, but make sure that it doesn't get too dry. I'll show you the consistency that you're looking for. Now look at that, nice and creamy.
Now, for the taste of Salina, capers.
In the Salina Island, they come under salt, like the one that we got here. The only thing that you have to do, if you buy capers in salt, pick them up, put them in your hand, and run them under cold tap water. Give them a good squeeze. I usually squeeze them in the same water that I'm cooking pasta, so it gives a little bit more flavor.
Roughly chop the capers and add them to the pesto.
Mix everything together. That's it. The job is done.
Back to the pasta, always make sure you cook it al dente, which is 1 minute less than it says on the packet.
You must have pasta al dente, because then you don't feel bloated when you eat it.
2 minutes before the pasta is ready, throw in some green beans.
Now, get the pasta straight into the pesto, like this. Don't forget the beans. And I like put beans into pesto because it gives a nice, different texture to the dish. Mix everything together. Look at that.
Finish the linguine with a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil and a sprinkle of pecorino.
And this is my experience so far in Salina.
With the perfect dish to celebrate Salina's signature ingredients. I'm making Puglia's most famous pasta dish, orecchiette con cime di rapa.
The only difference that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some sausages, I'm gonna add a little bit of pecorino, but if you love the shape of pasta orecchiette, this is the plate of pasta that you should do.
Pour a splash of extra virgin olive oil and sliced garlic into a cold pan. Then add a pinch and a half of chili flakes.
I'm using Italian sausages. Now, get the sausage in your hands, you squeeze it to make sure that the skin of the sausage is out and start to crumble it all over the dish. You can really see pieces of proper pork in there with black pepper, a little bit of fennel, so there is no need to add anything else. Wash your hands, remember, because you touch raw meat. Now, I need a herb that can take the heat of the oil, and that is fresh rosemary. Strip the rosemary stalk like that. You start to chop it, and we're gonna fry this one straight away, because if you start to fry the rosemary leaf, all the oil is gonna get the flavor of the rosemary straight away. So all this little secret makes the difference between a plate of pasta and the best plate of pasta. Rosmarino, straight into the dish. So only now is the time where you're gonna switch on the heat underneath the sausage and all the other ingredients. You probably want to do this, the frying, for about 10 minutes, no more than that. Now, let's talk about the cime di rapa. It's a vegetable that is very local in the Puglia region. Cime di rapa is like a broccoli. The only difference is that you probably recognize in the middle here the head of the broccoli, and these are the leaves. So really what we're doing in Italy is we eat the leaves and we don't really eat the head of the broccoli. So if you're at home and you want to replicate this recipe, what you could do, you could use the purple sprouting broccoli. We tend to pick up the top and then all these beautiful leaves right in the middle. I'm just gonna roughly chop them like that. And this goes straight into the pan. Now, there are some chefs that they boil the leaves as well. I don't actually agree to do that because I think once you start to boil the leaves, all the flavor and the nutrition is gonna go into the water. I want the flavor and the nutrition into the pan. Oh, this is perfect. I have one last ingredient, white wine. Make sure that if it's not good for drinking, it should never be good for cooking. So that goes straight in there.
Add the fresh orecchiette to salted boiling water and cook for just 8 minutes.
Pasta is ready. So mix everything together. Okay, this is the most important time when you make this dish. Every little orecchiette, every little shell is coated with the flavor of the broccoli or the sausage, the garlic, the chili. Beautiful. Now, the last thing that I want to add on here is pecorino cheese. I can definitely have this plate of pasta every single day.
I'm in a mood to cook proper Italian food. And when I say proper Italian food, I don't mean spaghetti bolognese and all that stuff that Italians don't really eat. I'm talking about, number one, my star ingredients, that is Chitarra pasta.
If you can get Chitarra, Linguine will work just as well.
I'm going to cook this pasta with extra virgin olive oil, garlic, cherry tomatoes, a little bit of chili, and rocket leaves. Simplicity at its best, and this is what Italian people like to eat. So that is my secret for you today.
And my next tip is,
I don't have any heat underneath the pan. My grandfather always said to me, whenever you cook with garlic and you want the best flavor out of the garlic, you need to make sure that the pan is cold. You slice your garlic, you put it there, then you put the extra virgin, and then you switch it on. So slowly, slowly, the heat of the extra virgin marries into the garlic and you get the best flavor.
trust me, my grandfather's tips have never let me down. So thinly slice 2 garlic cloves.
Pour in the extra virgin olive oil. And then just 2 or 3 pinches of dry chili flakes. Now the only thing we have to do, put the heat underneath.
While the pan heats up, you prepare your cherry tomatoes by simply slicing in half. When the garlic begins to color, add the tomatoes and give it a good stir.
Now you want to cook the tomato no longer than 3 to 4 minutes. So I got pot with boiling hot water. In there, we're gonna have to put the salt straight away before we cook the pasta. And then, of course, my Chitarra pasta.
Like all good Italian pasta, it should be cooked al dente, which will take 5 to 6 minutes.
One more ingredient I'm going to use is white wine. This is a local wine called Pecorino. Really, really good for this recipe. And I'm just gonna put probably about half a glass of wine in there, no more than that. The alcohol is evaporating, but the flavor of the wine stays in there. My last and final ingredient in the sauce, I got rocket leaves. Look at that. Fresh rocket leaves, and I'm going to cook them like you would cook spinach.
The peppery rocket contrasts perfectly with the sweetness of the tomatoes. Season and remember my rule, Always add the pasta to the sauce.
Now, if you look at the pasta and the sauce together there, the pasta is nice and al dente. The last 20 seconds, what's gonna happen? The pasta is gonna start to absorb the flavor of the sauce. So immediately, as soon as you're gonna twist it and put it into your mouth, bang, 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 all those flavors, boom, explode. Job done. So pick it up. Straight onto the plates. And look at that, all those beautiful tomato, the rocket leaves. Oh. When people they say to me, Gino, what is your favorite plate of pasta? This is Italian food at its best. Man-made, the most beautiful waterfall ever. And this is what I'm getting from Umbria, all these man-made things, that they're just wonderful. And I also have Antonio's guanciale, which I think I'm gonna give it justice by making a nice plate of pasta con chigliette, con guanciale e pomodori, which is the little shell pasta with Antonio's guanciale, tomato, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, very simple, anyone can do it. Now with the guanciale, you will find that there is peppercorn, or sometimes you can have chili flakes, and guanciale, if you think about it, the cheek of the pig, the taste is gonna be incredible. Just chop it up about 1 centimeter little cubes. And of course, if you don't have a guanciale, by all means, you can use pancetta. So, chop it up like this. Look, roughly about 1 centimeter little cube, straight into a very hot pan. At this point, to give it a good stir, we're gonna add finely chopped red onions. Now add a little bit of olive oil and get the sizzling going. See, after about 7-8 minutes, you see that the onions start to get caramelized and the guanciale gets nice and crispy. In there, we're going to add just chopped carrots, okay? Peel them, chop them, more or less the same size of the guanciale. And potatoes. I'm using a floury potato. Again, cut them more or less the same size of the guanciale. So mix everything together, cook for another 6 to 7 minutes to make sure that everything gets color. What I wanted to do now, I'm using some vegetable stock and cover the vegetable and the guanciale with the stock. So you're gonna start to prepare an amazing broth, and then you're gonna cook the pasta in it. So once you've covered all the vegetable, let it simmer gently for about 25 minutes. See, that's what I love about Umbrian cuisine. Cucina povera, poor man cuisine. All the ingredients I've used so far, ingredients that are very inexpensive, the guanciale, the onions, the carrots, but the flavors are kind of designed for a king. So poor ingredients, but king flavors. That's how I can describe Umbrian cuisine. Oh yes, this is looking good. It's bubbling away. Now what I want you to do, get a tin of chopped tomatoes. Don't use the fresh one, otherwise you're gonna have to deal with the skin and the seeds. Tinned chopped tomatoes, the best for Italian cooking, okay? Half of the tin, give it a good stir. Now, let's talk about the pasta. We are using conchigliette. You need, per portion, about 1 handful and a half.
For this dish, I'm using enough pasta for 4 people.
Mix everything together.
Allow the conchigliette to cook for 7 to 8 minutes until al dente. Finish off with some grated Parmesan cheese.
One last stir. Oh yes. I'm gonna serve it. Ho, ho, ho. A little more Parmesan cheese grated on top. Look at that. The most beautiful plate of pasta in front of me and the most amazing waterfall behind me. Right now, I feel the luckiest man alive. Enjoy.
Oh.